Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Planet Tyro. I'm your host, Donald Wonder. You're back here to continue Woody Allen Retrospective. And as always, I'm joined here with my master of co-hosts, Simon Rad.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. And it's not my fault. He wanted to take a break, so blame him.
Well, actually, I don't think the guys will realize when we took that break since I upload this in a weird time. Guys, before we get started, I do want to say this podcast might be longer than usual because you already know what we're covering. So there's going to be a bit of an introduction. So if you want to skip ahead all the introductory stuff, I'll put a time code in the bottom just to warn you before we get started. Skip all the junk, check the time code. But for those of you listening to the first time, welcome. If you missed our last discussion, actually on our last Woody Allen movie, we actually spoke about the Hollywood Blacklist movie called The Front. It was an interesting topic. If you're on YouTube, you can click the YouTube card to go back to that discussion. If you guys are listening to this on the podcast, and well, if this is your first time listening to this on the podcast and you want to find our podcast in a very easy way, we made it super easy. We have a hashtag you can use to search on Google or whatever podcast app you use. Just use the hashtag WoodyAllenRetro. All one word, all spaces, as you know how these hashtags go. WoodyAllenRetro. Dash it in Google, dash it in Podbean, iTunes, what have you, and you'll get all the reviews we did and all the future ones. Subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment in iTunes, and we're also on Stitcher Radio, Podbean, all those good stuffs. And of course, guys, these are spoiler discussions. If you've seen these movies before we talk about them, or we want you to watch these movies before you listen to us. That's how we would prefer it. But again, you might have already seen the movie. That way, we don't feel bad for spoiling the movie for you.
Hot damn, how about a link to skip the intro? I almost fell asleep. Damn, let's get go.
Okay, well, that's what I said. And that wasn't the intro, by the way. This is the intro now.
That was the intro to the intro, the teaser trailer.
That was the promo. This is the intro. Simon, tell the people what we're going to be talking about. Tell us what movie we're getting into right now.
Okay, we're looking at the sixth film, written and directed by Woody Allen, the legendary Annie Hall, released in 1977. This was his first quote-unquote classic, and up until today, probably his highest-rated film. So lots of interesting little details to dive in with a movie with such a rich legacy.
And before we get into it, this is basically what I wanted to introduce before we start talking about Annie Hall. Guys,
of course,
because I think when people search for Woody Allen movies, Woody Allen reviews, this is the one that most fans know.
Oh, wait, you're not going to talk about the font for 10 minutes? In the intro. No, you sure? The credits, maybe?
You see, this is what I'm talking about, Simon. Some people don't even know what joke you're referencing to if they've never heard those previous podcasts. If this is your first time listening, guys, I already mentioned you go back and listen to, but what I'm saying, you actually ruined my fucking train of thought. I've got to edit that out now.
I should keep this in. Just to say, all that work you did setting this shit up, and now it's all gone. Come on now. What was so important? Come on, you got it. Keep going.
So what I was going to say is that since this is such an important movie in the Woody Allen retrospective, and to be honest with you, Annie Hall is not only apparently Woody Allen's masterful magnum opus, or whatever you want to call it, but it's a film that's in so many people's top 10s and so many people worship the movie. In our previous reviews, I'm kind of more casual on how I think. I just look at it, but this time I want to do this in like a 3-point way. Personally, you could do it your way, Simon, but I want to attack this in 3 ways. First of all,
I was gonna do 16, but okay, let's do 3.
Well, I'm talking just for myself, guys. I want to make it a little bit more interesting. Annie Hall, for those of you guys who haven't seen it, I want to talk about this movie in a way where the movie stands alone. And what I mean by that is, how does the movie age? If you're watching this for the first time in 2017, how do I feel it holds up as a movie? Secondly, I want to look at the movie as we've been doing this retrospective, we've been cataloguing Woody Allen's growth as a director. We've been seeing how he's grown in every single movie. This is a movie where I also want to talk about, you know, how he's accumulated himself, how he's grown as a director. And the third and final point is obvious. I want to talk about it just purely from a biased opinion, how this movie's affected me and how I grew up with the movie. And the reason why I'm going to do it that way is because I've seen this movie probably about 7 times now. The last time I saw this movie was probably about, before this rewatch, 5 years ago. And I want to be super critical because, again, this movie is fawned over and worshipped to death. Is the movie really that good, Simon? I'm going to let you start and you can talk about the movie and stuff like that. And then I want to hear your thoughts on the movie. And then I'll go back into my 3 points I want to make about the movie.
You know what? Before we get into the summary, I know where you're coming from because I'll say this. Getting into this retrospective, one of the things I was looking forward to is to see that does the quality of a movie like Annie Hall, which is considered one of his best, diminish when you see everything that came before it? You're introduced to the jokes, you're introduced to the style of writing. I myself have seen a couple of his early films like Sleeper and Bananas, but I thought, okay, if I really watch everything there is to watch leading up to it, does that make the movie have less of an impact? Does that make the movie seem a little bit more similar, or, you know, a retreading of previous grounds, considering it's considered the Woody Allen staple, his bread and butter, right? Sure. And that's not the case at all. If anything, you really appreciate his progression as a filmmaker, and it makes you appreciate the movie even more. So that's a testament to it. For those of you who are new to Annie Hall, the title comes from the title character played by Diane Keaton, Annie, while Woody Allen resumes his on-screen persona of the New Yorker, the lonely New Yorker in a identity/relationship crisis. And once again, it's a piece about relationships, about love, but this time told with a slight twist because we jump back and forth a lot in time. So the movie is basically a recollection of memories from this relationship, with Allen breaking the fourth wall quite a few times, talking directly to the audience, and also establishing his character to not only be a little bit neurotic, but also seeing an analyst, which again is typical, but he clearly highlights that he has a problem with a wild imagination and distinguishing between reality and what's imagined, which is a setup for him to do a lot of gags that break the fourth wall or jump around in time or just are a little bit out there. So the comedy here never becomes as random as any of the previous films, not just because it's toned down a bit, but also because he has this clever setup where he clearly says to the audience, look, some of this is just in my head.
First thing I want to tackle is let's talk about Woody Allen, the character in this movie as well. Now, as you mentioned, Woody Allen, through the last couple movies, maybe through the first movie to this one, he's had this very stereotypical cutout persona that, again, Woody Allen has said many times, this is not really him. Now, in the last couple movies, even from the first one, they've been very whimsical, still very nebbish. This character, again, even the last movie we spoke about, The Front, and this movie, to me, those two characters are a bit more similar, because Woody Allen's character isn't a goofball in this movie. He's a guy who's been divorced twice. I believe that's right. Twice he's been divorced. As you mentioned, he's down on his luck as a relationship. He's looking for love. And when the movie starts, he's already spoken about how this relationship came to an end and he didn't understand it and we're recollecting it. But Woody Allen, the funny thing about his character to me in this movie, he's an asshole.
Yeah, he's more bitter and cynical rather than goofy than in this one. Like, his character is more refined to have a witty edge rather than relying on physical comedy.
Yes. And to be honest with you, the thing that also made it like this might have been more to his real life persona is that he's a comedian in the movie that has a successful career. So I thought that was an interesting choice. But my point is, through the other movies, it was very whimsical, kind of silly. But I felt like this was actually a character. Some of the other ones I felt were a little bit more of a caricature. But this is a guy who's been through relationships, who has a very strong personality, who has these qualms. And I took him quite seriously. the comedy in this, and especially his retrospective with the fourth wall breaking and his thoughts and stuff like that, it actually makes him a really well-rounded character. But I wouldn't say he's unlikable, but he's definitely an arsehole. But to be honest with you, I found it a little bit refreshing just because it was more serious and it wasn't jokey. That's what I liked. Diane Keaton, I've said this in the last 2 movies, that she's a standout, she's amazing, but I have to say it again, once again. Now, here's the thing. Her character in this movie, just focus on this movie, Diane Keaton's character is lovable. She's adorable, she's very cute, she's very naive, she's even kind of dumb, especially the way Woody treats her through the movie as well. But if the thing that really impresses me, if you see Diane Keaton through her last couple of movies, you can see her evolving as a character, and you can see Woody has molded her into just, as an actress, has molded her more and more and more. And with each role she's been in these last couple of movies, she's just improved more and more and more, on more screen time. And this movie is at the pinnacle of that. And to be honest with you, I think this movie, she has a full character arc. Like, she has complete character development from A to Z by this movie, and is genuine. The relationship he has with Woody Allen through this movie is genuine. And one of the, if not the best thing about the movie is, when you see relationship movies about 2 characters, sometimes it feels the narrative is skewing towards more of the one character than the other. Now, to me, this almost feels almost even. 60-40, where Woody's got 60, Diane Keaton's got 40. And I love the fact that we get into the female perspective. That even though Woody Allen's an arsehole, we get to hear Diane Keaton's perspective as well. One of the most iconic scenes in the movie is where Woody Allen and Diane Keaton are both seeing therapists, and the direction of the movie is split screening both of them and hearing them both speaking about how they feel about the relationship evenly.
Yeah. Those are the highly regarded parts of the film, because see, the main thread everybody loves about this movie is how realistic it is with the different beats of a relationship, because you see them not only in a relationship with each other, but in previous relationships and growing up. So you go through all these beats that people go through in real life, and the movie nails every single one of them. When the relationship is going good, when it's going bad, when you meet up and it's a new flame, when you have been together for quite a while and the love is dying down a bit, or it gets a little stale. How it is to break up, how is it to get back again? And Woody Allen, even though Diane Keaton played a different type of role in every single movie, Woody Allen always quotes her as the actress that taught him how to write about women and how to write a character arc about females. So really highlighting the female perspective and giving the audience a chance to hear basically the love interest voice in a movie, which was still rare in the 70s.
Very.
It makes the movie, because you can go like, that makes sense. And when they contradict each other, like they're talking to their therapists, and one of them says, we barely have sex, it's only like, I don't know, 3 times a week. And then Diane Keaton says, we have sex all the time.
Yes.
At least 3 times a week. And it's like, you just laugh because you realize like that's how you feel and think like a guy, but that's how a woman might feel. That might be a female perspective in that scenario.
And that's why I think the film resonates with so many people, and that's why I think this film has such longevity. And again, I was wondering, does this film hold up? Because actually, this year, 2017, is the 40th year anniversary for Annie Hall as well. So the movie's older than me. It's way older than me. And I still find it a breath of fresh air in the rom-com genre. And switching gears, I want to speak about the script and the directing more, and some of the elements Woody Allen used. Now, up until recently, I actually didn't know a lot of the behind the scenes of this movie, because when you watch the movie now, you see a lot of the fourth wall, you see a lot of the things like the kids talking about their future selves, and it seems really innovative. Now, not to take away anything from the movie, but through the research I found, especially through the Woody Allen Pages Watchers Guide, I've seen that this movie was actually a combination of multiple ideas Woody Allen had for different movies culminating into one. So whereas before I thought it was Woody Allen had a great idea for a movie, he's gonna make this, not really. He cherry picked some of the better parts of some of his more experimental movies. Like I believe one movie, there was meant to be a movie about people, you know, coming out of their bodies, and a movie about, you know, using children as a narrative, and, you know, he took them parts. Now, saying that, again, not taking any away from the movie, taking ideas and putting them together, it's hard to actually to make it work in a movie, to cherry pick these ideas and to make it work as a narrative cohesively is amazing. And to be honest with you, Woody deserves all the credit in the world.
And the editor. Don't forget the editor, because one of the biggest improvements in this film is it has terrific editing. You know?
I agree 100%. When I was reading the reviews for the movie, one thing people said that the reason why this movie is so amazing, why it was in so many people's top 10 lists, and I wouldn't have known this if I didn't really think about it and look into this, the directing and the shots of the movie, they said if you go back in the late 70s when this movie was made, no one was really doing that. This kind of is like an indie film of today. It does a lot of things that the indie rom-coms of today would do, you know, going to the locations, going to California, looking at the parties. All the reviews I was reading, Roger Ebert and all the journalists were saying, no one depicted New York, California in this way before. It was fresh. It was real. It was hip. It was so from the, you know, it was taken from a really, I'm looking for the right word. It felt really home. I wouldn't say homegrown. It felt like a Hollywood delight, a socialite did a movie, a real movie about what it's really like in a really fun way. But then the basis of the whole movie is a relationship in that surrounding with the meta commentary and with the meta jokes and with the great dialogue, which I'll get to the dialogue as well. But people just saying it was revolutionary. And to be honest with you, when I watch this movie, I see so many TV shows and movies that I loved that take these kind of comedic things, the full break-in and little idea. Actually, to be honest with you, to this day, I haven't seen movies take so many different kind of elements in a rom-com and it executed this well. They take one or two, like you could do just to talk to the screen. They'll just do that one, but they won't do that and then do the split screen, or they won't do that and then do the, you know, the look, man. This movie, I guess it is kind of revolutionary. I know I'm kind of revealing my hand about how I feel about the movie early, but I have a very minor criticism. But what I will say is, to this day, this movie put me onto the intelligent rom-com, and I will put that in parentheses, intelligent rom-com, because this is kind of a thinking piece going a little bit deeper. And the last thing I want to say before I go to my other 2 points is that the chemistry between Woody Allen and Diane Keaton is absolutely beautiful. And what I mean by that is, I think one of the most earnest things about this movie is that they feel like really good friends.
Yeah, their on-screen chemistry feels very natural. Some of the best scenes in the movie are, you know, where it's literally the line is blurred between improv and the actual scene, just because, you know, they don't have to act that bit. It comes from a long-lasting working relationship.
Do you remember the scene where they were like fighting over the lobsters?
Yeah, that's the exact scene I'm talking about, where both of them are laughing and it's genuine laughter. And that's the whole idea is that all these scenes are a slice of life from their relationship, and that's how it feels like. It feels like a slice of life.
But I don't feel like the movie is soppy. Like some movies I watch where those scenes feel forced in. Like way after this movie was made, I've watched romances where they're just artificial moments that we're seeing in, and you kind of know where it's going, but it just feels so friendly and so warm. I was watching the movie, it just put a smile on my face because the dialogue between Woody Allen and Diane Keaton is so playful. They tease each other, you know. And actually, speaking about Diane Keaton for a minute, one of the most charming things about her is the scene where she's kind of the scene where she meets Woody Allen for the first time. Woody Allen is so, I wouldn't say standoffish, but she's making a pass at him. Yeah. She's making a pass at him, but you know, he's picking up on everything she does wrong. It's like, I thought you said you don't have a car. Like, why do you ask me if I have a car? If you have a car, you know, he keeps on kind of picking her apart, and she's so cute. She just keeps on going, and obviously she's wearing the iconic hat and side jacket, and she's just so innocent. And if you watch the other movies like Sleeper, she's not like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is you mentioned full-fledged character arc. Her character has basically the classic butterfly, where she's in a place in her life when we meet her where she's kind of shy and lonely, and we find out why and what relationships she's been through, and then she goes through this journey of exposing herself as an artist, going through trial and error, and getting to a better place in her life and gaining some more confidence.
You know, I'm glad this movie is called Annie Hall, because I don't want to say she steals the movie, because Woody Allen really does a good job of taking you through the movie as well. But it's ironic, I never felt like I was on Woody Allen's side. Actually, I didn't feel like, with other rom-coms, I feel like I should be on the side. I should be on the man's side, I should be perspective. But in this movie, I think this is what really made me enjoy the movie. I felt like both characters were dissecting their own relationship. Another great example was when Woody Allen and Diane Keaton are talking about some of their past lovers, and Diane Keaton actually talks about some guys she was with before Woody Allen, and basically them two go into her past, and they watch a scene from her seeing another man, and they're kind of laughing about it just in the past. I mean, I don't know what to say. I was really surprised how well the movie held up. From Edinburgh, I don't really, ironically, I kind of don't have a lot of negatives, even though I'm really trying. I guess some of it, the only thing I found interesting is that Woody Allen is in his 40s, and Woody Allen, again, looking behind the scenes, he kind of says he felt a lot of the things in real life that he felt in this movie. He was getting older, he'd been through a couple of relationships, he put a bit of himself in the movie, not too much, but he did say he felt certain ways about a relationship. I guess maybe it's targeted toward an older audience, but when I watched this when I was young, and I still got a lot from this. Again, I'm trying to nitpick to find something, but I really like the movie. I really think it's a great movie, but I guess that's more of my biased opinion. But as a standalone movie today, what I will say is there's a lot of movies that have tried to copy this movie. And there's even a movie, I guess people say that 500 Days of Summer is like the updated version of this movie.
No, it takes inspiration, but it doesn't come close.
I completely agree. One of my favorite movies of all time is a movie called Entropy. I put a picture on the screen so you guys can see it. That draws a lot from this movie as well. Another movie called Love and Sex. This movie was the basis of a lot of other movies, but there still isn't a movie that brought all together like this. And that's why this movie won, I believe, 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and the Supporting Actress, and you know, and it is kind of a masterpiece. So I think this movie, I wasn't alive at the time, so when people say it's revolutionary, right now it's hard for me to put it in that context. But if we look at cinema at the time, I really can't see another movie like this. I'm not a cinemaphile, so obviously I'm only kind of guesstimating. But when people say it's revolutionary and I see it was out at the time, I think Woody Allen made a very special movie that's on its own. And people have said this, if this was the only film Woody Allen made, it still would have made his career. You know, a lot of directors, some directors only made 5 films. Woody's made over 50. And
sure,
is this his best movie? That is the question. For me, I'll watch Manhattan, because this, people always say it's either this or Manhattan.
That's the typical argument.
Yeah. So this is top 3. It's still a fantastic movie, and I've actually kind of hit my 3 points. All I will say is, lastly, looking at this from a building block from all his other movies, from this point on, his movies really take a swerve into the more serious, and I could see why. Not only was it beloved, I could tell he found something in himself, like, you know what, I'm good at this. I'm good at examining situations, which becomes a massive theme for Woody Allen, examining the human condition. Oh boy, that becomes his master theme through all of his movies. And Annie Hall was the one that started it, and it's still special. It's one of his best movies. As a standalone movie, I guess I know some people would probably say they have their own movies that are updated that might be better than this. I still think this movie is a better intelligent rom-com than the 40 plus years of rom-coms we've got. It is still one of the best rom-coms ever made. Which
movie? I didn't get that. You didn't say it enough times. Which one you're talking about? Is it this movie?
Yeah. I told you I was going to go on a ramble. I told Sam I was going to go on a ramble.
It's fine. You're done with the math equation with all the points and the trajectories and the equations.
Yes.
It's all done. Well, you know, you went on it for quite a while, but it's all praise and it's well deserved. Like I said, if anything, I thought one of the early gems would have proven to be no. See, this is the Woody Allen movie to praise, but nah, it just holds up too well, and indeed, it's very influential to the point where it even reminded me of a Diane Keaton movie from the 2000s that literally plays homage to this. Do you remember Something's Gotta Give with Jack Nicholson?
Of course, I love
and
that
Keanu
movie.
Reeves.
Keanu Reeves, yes.
Now, he's one of my favorite actors. It was just like I needed to
That's why I
cough.
can't get his name right, of course.
Yeah, I'm coughing, and I'm trying to hold the cough back. Keanu Reeves, yes, thank you.
Sure.
Anyway, the ending is quite similar, and it pays homage to this. But man, learning how different this movie could have been with all the wacky ideas and the different elements that were cut out of it, it really is one of those situations where everything just falls into place. Ralph Rosenblum was the editor for this, and he deserves every bit of credit because the movie flows great. It really feels like a brand new chapter for Woody Allen, where everything just flows into each other quite well. Previously, there was always these odd cuts, these exaggerated comedy segments that just stick out here. Even though we're breaking the fourth wall, we're doing meta things, we're going back in time. We have the same characters being portrayed by adult and child actors in the same scene. It just feels very light and natural. That's the biggest praise everybody gives to this movie, how natural and relatable it is. Even though he's doing all this groundbreaking stuff and experimental things, and he's still trying to push the envelope as a comedian for these odd comedy bits. And like you said, there was a lot of stuff removed from the film that was supposed to be about going to hell and, life and death and be more wild and even more experimental. But man, if you compare this to everything you want to know about sex, it's like it's not even done by the same guy. Sure. All the flaws that are in that movie, the disjointed nature, the rough pacing, are non-existent. This movie is really a masterpiece. Woody Allen's habit of being a perfectionist, which he addresses in the film, that in art you always aim to get things perfect because it's so hard to do in life. It really pays off here. You can't really fault the movie. There's no fault, and everything's iconic, even down to the dress code. You hinted at the different Diane Keaton outfits, the one with the hat and the tie, which became like one of her signatures, and it's very appropriate for the times as well, because in the 70s, a lot of women tend to be more dominant, more male-like, and they start to dress more male-like, more like men. Yeah. And even I asked my mother about this because she was growing up at the time and she was watching Woody Allen movies, and she said like the big comedy draw of Woody Allen was that he was this scruffy looking guy in the age where women are starting to become equal and take over. And his frustrations is always complaining about relationships and not understanding of what's in women's mind. Why are they doing this? Why doesn't it work? I don't get it. What's missing? It was really funny and really relatable. And it's a great relationship movie. I, on a personal level, can relate to this movie quite well. You just said the title character is an asshole, and I'm an asshole in real life.
Oh yeah, we all know that.
I have the same conversations with my girlfriend. Every time she comes late to the movie, I keep telling her, like, I want to see the movie from the beginning. I need to see the movie from, the first shot to the last. I can't come in the middle. Like, it just doesn't work for me. So yeah, what am I going to tell you? It's a great film. I was waiting to get up until this point so I can critique the movie more, say, we've seen this idea reused. And even he broke the fourth wall before in the medieval segment of everything you want to know about sex. But it doesn't matter, because I believe to make a movie this good, things have to fall into place. You have to have the right cast of people come together at the right point in time to reference the right material and be in the right cultural atmosphere to do this. This goes for any great movie. The Godfather, more recent years, even something like The Dark Knight, where literally one of the most iconic actors from the film passed away right after that. It is just one of those things in life where all the elements need to fall in place, and then something great happens. That's all I can say. It's really, really, really good. And my boy Christopher Walken, speaking of a wild card, This is his movie. This movie made him. Think about it. He was a nobody, and he just comes into this movie and steals the scene, one of the best scenes in the film that I always quote. I mean, it's amazing.
Well, people, if you don't, you know what? This time, I'm actually going to embed the clip. This is Simon's favorite quote of the movie, which, again, honestly, it comes out of nowhere and goes, but it is very memorable. You guys, just check this one out.
Harvey,
Hi, Dwayne. How's it going?
this is my room.
Oh, yeah? It's terrific.
Can I confess something? I tell you this because, as an artist, I think you'll understand. Sometimes when I'm driving on the road at night, I see two headlights coming toward me. Fast, I have this sudden impulse to turn the wheel quickly, head on into the oncoming car. I can anticipate the explosion, the sound of shattering glass, the flames rising out of the flowing gasoline.
Right. Well, I have to go now, Dwayne, because I'm due back on the planet Earth.
See, this is how I meet my brother-in-law. I bet this is just gonna come back and haunt me for the rest of my life. But yeah, I mean, actors, they reference this scene for the depiction of insanity, the best depiction of insanity. And I believe this is his only dialogue in the movie, only real dialogue, because he's sitting at the dinner table and doing chit chat. But this is his only bit in the film, and yet it's so memorable and just propelled him to the acting scene, which proves you only need one shot. And again, it could have been anybody else. They could have cast anybody else, and it would not be the same. It would not work as well as it does.
He has got them beady eyes. Man, you know what? Funny enough, you bringing up your favorite part of the movie, favorite quote. I had a few quotes of the movie, especially one in particular, which again, is he in bed with Diane Keaton or whatever? And then he said, "Don't knock masturbation. That's sex with someone I love."
No, that's the spying on you scene when they're arguing on the street.
Okay, well, either way, it was one of my favorite lines, but then I realized that actually he would use that line in one of his earlier movies. So got to take the money, man. So my favorite line in the movie has to be one of the most pessimistic and depressing lines, but when I heard it, it really stuck with me. And it's the scene after Woody Allen and Diane Keaton are having the argument, because Woody Allen started following Diane Keaton after one of her classes, and he kind of caught her I don't want to say what he caught her in a bad situation.
Yo, it's the same scene you were talking about previously with the masturbation joke.
Oh, okay. You said that before, but I don't remember them being connected, so my mind's already gone funny. Either way, after Diane Keaton goes in the cab and drives off, Woody Allen's so frustrated, he starts walking around like just asking people. This is another fourth wall breaking moment, because people wouldn't react to someone like this in real life. So he just walks up.
Well, you never know. A lot of weirdos in New York happens more often than you think, probably.
I don't think they would answer him. Especially, I'll tell you what. The first person he walks up to is this old woman, and this is my quote of the movie, which honestly, she only gives like two very succinct words. He asks, "What do you think about relationships?" And she proudly says something like, relationships, whatever. I'll tell you something about relationship. Love fades. And then she walks off. And just that phrase, he even was like, love fades. Jesus. And even I thought to myself, love fades? Really? And the reason why that resonated with me so much is because at this point in time, when I'm recording this podcast right now, so many people I know have been in long-term relationships, and the theme that I'm hearing from everyone is that love fades. That over time, the love ain't as strong as it used to be, just like Woody Allen feels like in this movie, I guess. And then she just kind of reaffirms that. It's very depressing, and I was just like, when I meet a woman, I don't want the love to fade. So, and she's an old woman, so I thought it was very weird. He wrote it in the script anyway. The next person, just for argument's sake, the next person Woody walks up to is this couple, this man and woman, And he's like, why did you get together with her? And then he says, I'm tall, blonde, and
shallow and have nothing to say.
And I have nothing to say. And then she says something to this, and she says, so am I.
Well, technically the guy says the same thing, but yeah, and you also forgot the vibrating egg guy, which again is just a little delving into Woody Allen's psyche and his humor. But
yeah. Anyway, you made me. I didn't want to elaborate that much on that point, but I just wanted to say that was it just really stuck with me. So, and it's not something I want to condone, and I'm not a pessimist, guys. I just, when I heard that, I just thought, I really hope love does not fade, because I have yet to fall in love.
Well, I always love myself a lot, and that hasn't faded in 25 years. So I can reassure you, if you really truly love somebody, that lasts forever.
Wow, that was like a double joke. Anyway, guys, the last thing I want to bring up about the movie is, I think what solidifies the movie, and I really don't want to forget this, is the ending. Now, when you have a relationship movie like How I Met Sally or any other movie, most of them have a happy ending, whatever. The ending for this movie, honestly, not only does it end on a really good speech by Woody Allen, but it ends in a very amicable way, a very mature way, and it leaves you just fulfilled. I just that was very, even though it's not the happiest ending per se, I felt like, wow, I just had a really nice experience. I wasn't expecting that. And even Woody Allen said, which I can quote from a Woody Allen interview, when I had that ending, I knew I had something that resonated. I knew I had a cinematic ending, and that's what he had. Honestly, the ending really fully forms this movie, and it's hard to come by with a really good ending like that, with such a amazingly entertaining and thoughtful movie. But by the end, it just left a big smile on my face, and that's gonna be the last thing you remember coming away from this movie. And I was like, wow, it really was that good. That's it. That's what I said. Damn, this movie, 40 years later, however old it is, it really is that good. So that's my final word on Annie Hall, man. It's surprising. It's surprising. After 40 years, it really still holds up. But any final words on that, Simon?
Not much to say, really, because we touched on this before at the Play It Again, Sam review, where you said that movie's kind of a beta for this, because a lot of the cast return, not just Diane Keaton, but Tony Roberts, who plays Woody Allen's best friend again, and kind of a relationship advisor. And we also retread some things, but it's just done so much better in this. I mean, you don't see Tony Roberts as much. He definitely had some of the best jokes and Played Against Sam, and here he's playing an even stronger supporting role, so less funny lines for him, more good setups. But it is just done so much better. Even the shade he throws at LA, man, and lazy liberals, just again one of my favorite topics, and why this movie resonates with me so well. And how far we got, because LA is basically now the hub of the states, right? That's the only sane state we have where we actually making progress on immigration and climate change and reforming the labor and just culture and stuff. But we still have this uber liberal problems that comes with certain people always preaching and being sensitive about things and PC policing people, but then not showing up on election day. And the way Woody Allen dissects LA back in the 70s is too accurate and too funny. And this is one of the biggest credits he got in from this movie, that it feels real. It doesn't feel pretentious. It doesn't feel like somebody who lives in a bubble. Yeah. He actually shows you the bubble while standing right outside of it, looking at doesn't this look stupid? Do you think it looks stupid? I think it looks stupid.
It's funny you should bring that up, because you just reminded me, my second favorite line in the movie is when Diane Keaton and Woody Allen are in California, and then Diane Keaton's like, oh, the streets are so clean, and Woody Allen's like, yeah, that's because they take all the trash and make it to TV shows.
Yeah, they don't throw out their trash, they turn it into TV shows. Yeah exactly. It's a lot of good lines. Do yourself a favor, watch it.
Why are you telling the people to watch it? Because if we look at the audience scores on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, it's almost at 100%. Obviously, it's one of the most beloved Woody Allen films of all time. Again, in so many top 10 lists of film snobs, film critics, the general audience. If you haven't watched,
Yeah,
this movie,
but here's the thing. Like, film critics and film snobs, they're even getting their fair share of shade in this movie, because there's one guy in the beginning of the movie who just does this deep analysis, rubbing his chin. I'm like, I think, but if you think about expressionist films like this, you really need to resonate the audience, and the director just doesn't come off chic enough, and it doesn't. I don't feel it in my soul, and you just want to tell that guy, shut the fuck up. And really, that's what all the critics are. So people who are on that level and kind of realize that, the film critics are kind of hypocrites, and they overhype things, and they have just as flawed opinions as everybody else. This movie even acknowledges that this is not an artsy-fartsy film. No. It's clever. All the artistic bits come from being clever and trying to capture something that's real, because it's in part autobiographical. It tells stories that the director has been through, and shares experiences that he experienced, the feelings he felt. So it's a clever movie, but it's hard in the right place. It's not aiming to please critics or, be artsy just for the sake of it.
I agree. And, it must be destiny that we finally reviewed this movie in its 40th year anniversary. I'm probably going to tweet this to the Woody Allen fans or the Woody Allen crew, whoever's working on the production team, because, one of the favorite films of all time, 40-year anniversary. I hope they do a remastered Blu-ray. I would buy it on principle. Guys, if you've seen Woody Allen's Annie Hall, or you got any comments to say, leave it in the comment section down below. But what I will say lastly is, I'm always speaking about the Woody Allen Pages Watcher's Guide. I will say, this fellow who wrote this Watcher's Guide, he's done 3 editions. Now,
I am convinced it's Woody Allen himself in disguise. I am absolutely convinced.
It must be. I'm a message you on Twitter as well. You must be a Woody Allen relative or on the production team or something, because get the Woody Allen Pages. If you're a fan of Annie Hall, this book alone is worth it just for that, because he dedicated a good chunk of his research on this movie, Annie Hall, and we didn't even scratch the surface on the stuff, and it's not worth it. Get it on ebook for, it's like $3 or £4, pounds, wherever you are. It's so cheap and it's such good content, and I'm plugging it all the time because it's so good. And leave him a review as well. Thank you. I know he thanked us for checking us out and always shouting out, and that's not a problem. But guys, again, thank you for watching Retrospective. I already said you can find links if this is your first time, and again, I have a feeling people are going to find this review more than the other ones. Just for the record, again, we are reviewing every single Woody Allen movie. Okay, we started from even before Take the Money and Run. Check out the playlist on YouTube. I'll leave a link in the description again. So if you like this discussion, even though it was too long and I rambled, thanks for listening. Our other ones aren't this long. So lastly, I want to thank Simon Rath for joining me on this journey. As always, thank you, buddy.
You're welcome, and please check out the description so he shuts up.
All right, on that note, I'm going to get the hell out of here so I can harass my co-host here, who's rude as fuck. And
link in the description, yeah.
We'll see you on the next one, guys. Thanks for listening.
Check out the links in the description.